Hello there! If I ask you about the best Android smartphones in the market, sure you will think about the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra and the Xiaomi 12 Pro, the best smartphones of these two giant companies. So, we will compare the most important aspects of both phones, starting with design. I have to say that the design comparison is subjective because everyone has different tastes. Believe there's people out there that likes that thing. We have the Xiaomi with a big camera module in the back part with a total of 3 cameras, while Samsung has no protrusions for the 5 cameras, and the rest of the red design is very sober and elegant in both devices. At the front, the two looks similar, having a curved screen and the camera in a hole. But Samsung is better for me, having a smaller and more stylized frames. And in addition, the curves of the Xiaomi phone do not end up looking quite great. You can tell me in the description which is your winner. So now we will move on to one of the most important aspects, the screen. In the Samsung, we have a 6.8-inch screen, and in the Xiaomi, a 6.73 inches screen, having a higher resolution in the Xiaomi phone. However, in screen utilization, the Samsung is above, exceeding 90%. Now the Xiaomi wins again in pixel density per inch, slightly surpassing the Samsung. But now the Samsung wins again in another section, beating the Xiaomi's screen brightness by 250 nits. Then they do tie in refresh rate, both reaching the great figure of 120 Hz. The technology of the OLED panel of both is not very different, although the Samsung screen is a little more colorful. Being both screens of great quality, the Samsung is a little superior for me. Now we will talk about another important aspect, the battery. And we get a big surprise, as we can see that there are 400 milliamps of difference, being Samsung the winner with the imposing figure of 5000. Leaving a little aside numbers, let's see how the battery of both devices behaves in test. In a high demand test, the Xiaomi achieved 5 hours and 22 minutes of duration, and the Samsung 6 hours and 48 minutes, having both devices more than an hour of difference. In a medium demand test, the gap shortens a bit, with the 12 Pro lasting just over 7.5 hours, while the Samsung managed to pass 8 hours, crowning the S22 Ultra as the winner. But that's not all, since in the charge test, the Xiaomi crushes the Samsung device. Samsung offers 45 watts, while the Xiaomi offers up to 120 watts. And yes, this is not numbers, as we can see that the Xiaomi phone charged in just 31 minutes, while the Samsung takes an hour and 16 minutes, a notorious difference in watts and charging time. And now let's move on to my favorite section, performance. Let's talk about the components of these devices. I do not intend to entangle you with tests, since the difference between the performance of these devices is minimal, and in some tests the Samsung wins, but in some others the Xiaomi wins. Of course, talking about the Samsung version with the Snapdragon 888 processor, because if we talk about the version with the Exynos processor, the Xiaomi wins easily. Leaving aside the processor, we find identical RAM memory options with 8 GB and 12 GB, while in storage, the Samsung has an extra option of up to a terabyte. But as we know, performance also depends on the operating system, where there is not too much to compare, since both come with Android 12. However, they have different layers of customization, where one comes with the layer of Xiaomi and the other comes with the layer of Samsung. And as I said, they are only layers of customization and therefore only change the aesthetic design and some extra features, and it will be a matter of you see them and decide which you find more enjoyable. And we move into another important section, the camera. And for this, we will start by first comparing the numbers and seeing what sensors they have and what megapixels and resolutions they have. The S22 Ultra has a camera model very similar to the S21 with 5 cameras, the main one with 108 megapixels and 2 others for dedicated zoom, one per 3 and another per 10, with an incredible quality, which you will see in the following test. Plus, of course, this model of cameras have a super wide angle and another camera with laser for the focus. Then, the Xiaomi comes with very good numbers, counting its 3 sensors, telephoto, wide angle and ultra wide angle with 50 megapixels, although it lags behind with only a port 2 optical zoom. In the front camera, both are very powerful, winning the Samsung by only 8 megapixels. In the video recording section, I was surprised as they finally beat the Samsung in video resolution. And although both come with 8K at 24 FPS and 4K at 60 FPS, in slow motion the Samsung has 960 FPS recording at HD, and the Xiaomi with 960 FPS recording at Full HD. But not only that, as in 720p HD it reached 1920 FPS, a surprising number. But to certify these numbers, let's move on to the test. And we start directly with a video, where in the wide angle and in the angular we see more saturated colors in the Xiaomi, with a wider dynamic range in the Samsung. Look at the sky. In addition, in the zoom we see that the Samsung fully maintains its quality, having several dedicated zoom lenses. But it is already when we go to extend zoom that we see how the Samsung totally passed over the Xiaomi, since the quality has no competition. And in all the following photos that I am going to show you, there is a clear difference, since Xiaomi raised the saturation and exposure at all times, sometimes leaving the sky excessively clear or even gray, while we see in the Samsung that the sky is clearly blue. And in the zoom, no more comments are needed. The Xiaomi continues to do its thing with a lot of overexposure while Samsung keeps its color in excellent sharpness. And although the Xiaomi camera is not bad at all, being objective, the Samsung photos are superior. Also, in macro mode, is again superior to Samsung. And finally, in slow motion, is the only section where Xiaomi wins, having a slower mode. Finally, we move to the conclusion, where it's time to give the winner. And after saying each aspect, we can decide which is the winner. And in fact, I would like to see your opinion in the comments. But what is clear is that there are 3 sections with clear winner. In battery life, the Samsung by not too much. In battery charging time, the Xiaomi by almost double. And in the camera part wins the Samsung. But for color balance, zoom and versatility of the camera model, and although we have a great slow motion recording in the Xiaomi, I think that is a mode that you will not use too much. So, being objective and under my opinion, there is a clear winner, the Samsung Galaxy. Although in the section that I left at the end there is something very interesting to see, and is that after a few months of going to market these phones, there has been a big change in prices, finding the Xiaomi phone in just $800, while the Samsung is like $900. And for this I consider that there could be a tie, since I do not consider that the difference is enough to justify this $100. Now the big question will be, will the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra beat the iPhone 13 Pro Max? Subscribe and like us to bring this battle of the titans to the channel. I invite you to see the description to get links to my latest videos and see information of interest. Bye!